Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Um, yeah, so I've been making some changes to the channel. So what I'm going to do with this one is just talk about astrology and just talk about the transits and what are happening, what is happening, and stuff. And it's going to be less itemized content that I created before. Like in terms of, particular transit or what have you, Mercury retrograde or new moon in blah blah blah, and I'm opting for more of a discussion based, live, eventually live. Um, so we'll see how that goes, but I'm fine with recording this. This is basically what I would do live, is not edit anything and just talk for however long I can. It's a stamina thing. How many calculations can you do before you get tired? Is basically what this is. But yeah, I'm not just going to do transits. So, but This is more the format that I prefer. Can you tell me what I mean, whether this is more suitable for you as well. But like as far as like making stuff, this is more suitable for me, and this is the way I would prefer to do it. And if I make a mistake, I will correct it in real time, or you can you know have your opinion, whatever. Um, so I've got a lot to unpack, but I'm not going to do everything in one video stream. So let's just have a look at what's happening, shall we? Minimize this for a bit. Okay, so where are we now? This is Tuesday. That was yesterday, the 21st. So we had the new moon on the 20th, Monday, the 20th of October to Tuesday, the 21st. That was the Tithi, the Amavasya Tithi. Okay, so we are now waxing. We are now in the waxing fortnight. And here you can see sun moon there in Libra. So it's a Libra new moon. Sun and moon are in Libra, and the ruler of Libra, Venus, is approaching deep debilitation in Virgo. Moon and sun are in Chitra Nakshatra. That's the specific part of Libra, the beginning portion of Libra. And then here we have Mars and Mercury towards the end of Libra in Vishaka Nakshatra. We have an aspect from Jupiter. Jupiter's actually also the ruler of Vishaka. We have an aspect from Jupiter who has just recently passed into Cancer. On the 18th of October, Jupiter passed into Cancer. So, excuse me. So this is another thing that I would like to cover in this video is Jupiter, and how that roughly 1 year Jupiter transit, is gonna, I'll see if I can communicate some details about that. So yeah, this seems good to now, start on that new moon stuff. And what we have is that so we just start with Libra. Libra is the scales, and this is about balancing opposites. And this is, people often generalize this, oh, Libra, it's about balancing opposites, and then and we don't really fully understand the deeper significance of that sign, I had actually planned to do a previously I did a video of I've been working on doing some possibly some like some podcasts. I'm just trialing things out and seeing how we go. But I did a Libra Sankranti. That's right, Libra Sankranti, birth of the sun. So every time the sun goes into a sign, it's the birth of the sun. So obviously the sun has 12 birthdays. We're obviously people who are into Vedic astrology and so on understand Makar Sankranti, which is the birth of the sun in Capricorn, and that's the beginning of that year cycle. But it's the same, there's a birthday for each sign. So I did a trial sort of podcast, on that Tula Sankranti, which is Tula is the name for Libra. I'm not going to release that now because I'm trying out different formats, so I'm not going to do that. But it made me contemplate again on Libra and the significance of Libra. Obviously, these 12 signs were imported into Vedic astrology, and so they're not native. And of course, passed on by Greek astrologers, but then that goes back to Egypt. So we're really looking, at Egyptian and Mesopotamian symbolism here. So we want to get into the signs and this kind of stuff. Okay, so if you followed my channel, over the years, gosh, it's nearly 10 years now I've been doing this channel. It's been 8 or 9 years or something like that. But if you follow me, you know that I like to go deep into these things. So, and so Libra is the scales. And, this relates to Anubis, and this relates to the underworld, and Anubis and the in the Egyptian religion, the dead would be ferried on the. I'm not an expert in Egyptian religion, by the way. The dead would be ferried on the boat of Ra. So the soul of the dead would then be judged by Anubis, I believe, and the heart of the cat will know about this because she's an Egyptian. She likes Egyptian astrology and Egyptian things. But it's very good to have a knowledge of everything Egyptian when it comes to anything esoteric, anything religious, because it really does all seem to go back to that. But there are different various origin points and indigenous origin points, but it's certainly useful. So the heart of the dead is weighed on the scales against the feather of Ma'at, I believe, and Ma'at is the principle of truth and order. And so you're weighing the heart, which is the heart of the deceased has something to do with the past lives, the past actions, the karmas, and what that person has done, their deeds in their life. So measuring the actions and deeds of the soul with an absolute principle like truth and order. Okay, so there's obviously a moral kind of thing there, but this is where this idea of balance and balancing. This is where the idea really goes back to. So we can generalize and go, oh, this and that, and but this is the more esoteric kind of significance. And that goes back to dog barking in the background. Got close to the window. See, with this, I need total concentration. I have I'm slipping backwards. I've got a floor. This is ridiculous. I've got a floor that's slightly inclined. And yeah, if there's a dog barking or whatever, and like I can totally lose my concentration. So yeah, so I'm not really proving my I'm not really proving my Zen kind of meditation kind of accomplishments here by getting distracted by any little thing. Um, so yeah, but what was I talking about again? I got distracted. So yeah, I mean this also goes back to we talk about Libra and the scales and law and justice. Um, and we can go into like social law and legality and that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's part of it. That's certainly a sort of more external way of looking at it. And those themes will come up actually, themes to do legal themes and, you know, um, being judged in the eyes of the social law. Okay. But this is being judged in the eyes of the moral, spiritual, religious law. Okay. And so, all of these themes will, crop up, in the news and in your life and stuff like this, of course. What we don't really understand so deeply is, and this is partly what I offer on, through my lens and, through my way of seeing things, is this sort of like uh, deeper and more, and also comparative way of looking at things. But we often don't understand, well, people and astrology enthusiasts often don't, and astrologers don't often understand how to connect, the sign with the, or particular Libra. It can be difficult to see the connection between that and Venus, which, quite often we have that, Greek reference of Aphrodite, the beautiful woman, the the archetypal beautiful woman and so on like this. How has that got to do with this? Okay. So and this portion of the zodiac though, Libra to Scorpio, that's basically the underworld. That's basically the going down to the darkest kind of point um before the days eventually get longer. Of course, that point is in Makar. So Makar kind of represents the end point of that. But really, you could look at Libra as kind of like the beginning of that, descent into the underworld. And so we have a connection really going back, an esoteric connection, really going back to the depths of the underworld and a place of liminality. Liminal means somewhere in between something. So not only, and then that's another understanding of like, in terms of like balancing and stuff like that. But the soul is not born again yet. The soul, the individual is dead, has died, and will be reborn, but not yet. So it's this kind of, and this is partly also why, well, we'll get onto that. But so if we look at Venus as, so the connection to Venus. Venus also rules Bharani Nakshatra. So if I get my cursor out here, obviously Bharani is in Aries, middle of Aries. And Bharani is the yoni. And that nakshatra has to do with death, passing on to other worlds, or transitioning into other states of being. Okay. So it not only sort of suggests, because it's the yoni, it suggests a sort of portal towards Earth, but it's also a portal away from Earth. So it's a place of transition. It's a place of becoming and ending, and it's very similar to this underworld kind of place of liminality of Libra. And of course, Venus is the mother goddess. Venus is the divine feminine. Okay, so how does everything get here, the divine feminine? Okay, so here we're seeing these connections here like this. Okay. So we'll have these themes, and Worth noting is Libra is the debilitation of the sun and the exaltation of Saturn. So Saturn things will, I don't want to say Saturn things will succeed, but Saturn things will be, the suggestion is that Saturn things will be prominent somehow, that will be like out there. I don't know how else to describe it. And sun things, there will be detriment to sun things. Okay. This is sun's weakest point. So that's 10 degrees of Libra in Swati Nakshatra. But sun is debilitated throughout. Saturn is exalted throughout. So obviously Saturn's not there at the moment. But this shows us the kind of things here. And of course, like I said, Libra is that place of liminality in the underworld where the sun has not yet been reborn. So of course, you can understand maybe a reason for the sun being weak here. And of course, that's going to affect our confidence. It's going to affect our individuality, sense of self, identity, and all of these kinds of things. Whereas with Saturn, Saturn has to do with Saturn's a more democratic kind of planet, I guess you could say. And so it thrives in a sign like Libra, where everything's about equality. And so also Saturn has relationship to the law and legal processes, which is very much the affinity of Libra. And so things like issues to do with law in an external context, anything to do with work, anything to do with some organizational things, likely to succeed through in this month. Whereas things to do with like the individual self and the identity, less so. That's kind of abstract, but we see this kind of theme, in general with Libra. That, if you have any questions about that, we can kind of bring that out with examples, and certainly you'll see, these themes in your life in particular ways, due to your ascendant sign, which is going to give you more clues, as to this kind of stuff. So we've also got Venus debilitated here. So we've got Sun debilitated, and then we've got Sun's Lord Venus debilitated. So of course, Venus debilitated is going to be, problematic, in general for all of those things that Venus indicates: relationships, love, desire. So obviously, that transit through Virgo is, always about the challenges there, and so we'll be experiencing that at the moment. And it's like the thing with the debilitated Venus is to, of course, with any debilitation, we have to bring a lot of awareness to that. We can't, even through awareness to the great challenge, even through awareness to that darkness, we can't, reverse it. We can't change that. We can't change that, debilitated Venus into an exalted Venus just through being aware of it. But it is, about that awareness of the problem, does bring about a change and bring about a sort of conscious acceptance. In general, debilitated Venus is about, appreciating, appreciating ourselves, appreciating others, and obviously we're gonna, not feel very appreciated as well throughout this. We're not going to feel very appreciated or loved, and this is a general understanding of Venus. So of course we want to and probably will try a lot harder to do those things. But in general, it'll also show problems with Libra and problems with whatever situation is happening in the Bava, of course, the Bava of the house. So that debilitation will translate like that. So so we have this double whammy of Sun and Venus debilitated. So in a general sense, yeah, that might translate as problems and challenges and difficulties within sorting things out, in a sort of I want to say legal context, but that sounds like being in the court and having to sort problems out and this kind of stuff. But we have a kind of a general kind of sense of kind of sorting things out between each other, and so it shows challenges in that kind of coming to a sense of coming to a sense of justice, coming to a sense of what's right. And so this could be worked out on a personal level, on an external level, on an individual level. It just shows a difficulty with that, and real challenges because of that debilitated Venus. And so it's not just issues to do with kind of love and relationships as well. It's also we've got to look at these Libra things and this Libra situation, and of course that's going to be different for each ascendant sign. So for Aries, let's see. Yeah, so for Aries, that is going to be about the relationships for Aries, and Aries, always sets the bar. Okay, so here we see things to do with relationships, with sorting things out, and the challenges around that. Okay, yeah. So yeah, with Taurus, it's going to be more about kind of work-based things. With Gemini, it's going to be about creativity and something to do with self-expression and creativity and those kinds of things, children. With Cancer, it's going to be about home life and domestic life, but also like the internal life of the individual. With Leo, it's going to be about skills, interests, and that kind of stuff. Virgo, it's going to be about friends and family. Of course, Libra, it's going to be about themselves. Scorpio, it's going to be about other states of consciousness and isolation and these kinds of things. Loss. Sagittarius, it's going to be about those large groups and creative connections, business, that kind of stuff. Capricorn, it's just going to be about work. Aquarius, it's going to be about your dharma, your truth, your principles and philosophies and stuff like that. And for Pisces, it's going to be about making changes and things changing and or things not changing, or this kind of like things that are hidden, or these kind of secretive, mysterious kind of things. Okay, so we've all got these kind of bhavas in this kind of way that the Libra energy will manifest. Again, let me know if you want any more details on that, and we'll work it out through consecutive sessions, or what have you. So yeah, Chitra Nakshatra, the nakshatra is Chitra. And Chitra, the deity that rules that is Vishvakarma. Chitra means something like distinguished, and the symbol is a pearl. Distinguished pearl. Something of great value and great worth. And of course, Vishvakarma is the architect, or the kind of builder. So you can imagine this cosmic architect building this great kind of, whether we're talking about literal pearl or some kind of cosmic spiritual pearl, it shows, the thing of great worth that has been crafted. Okay, and so this is our punya, or merit. It's what we've done that's great, or what we've done that's good. And you can see how that relates to the scales. That actually goes straight back to the symbolism that I was talking about, of the measuring the heart against the feather. How good has this person done? Their punya, their past deeds, their past merits, right? It's interesting. See how that connects like that. But so again, we see this nature of justice and truth and goodness has to do with the, of course, our past actions and so on, like this. And so this is good. This is again, getting deeper into the theme of the month. And people might think, some people might think in terms of, it tends to be a mindset in astrology. You either think in terms of like, what are all these things coming to me? And often and that can be like, oh, all these bad things are going to come to me, all these good things come to me. That's more of like a passive way of looking at astrology. You've got to look at it in terms of, what are you doing, your actions. So, Chitra, you read some stuff about Chitra, and it's like, this is the nakshatra, you get great things for doing your great deeds. Can just as well be the opposite. But I think it's more about, it is about the past, but it's also about the present and the action, and your good efforts in the moment, in whatever you're doing now, is really the most important thing. And yes, and holding your heart up to the feather of Mart, and really putting your heart on those scales. Okay, so and Chitra really kind of it will either, well, yeah, I've explained it. So we get more details depending upon the situation, so we need charts and stuff for that. But yeah, and so we have Jupiter. Shall I do this in a separate section? Maybe I'll do this in a separate section. Okay, so let me just leave that for now, and then we'll do this in a separate section, just so I can make sure I keep the energy going and stuff like that. So see you in a bit.